Hi, Mark here. It is Tuesday, October the 14th, just after 9:45 a.m. Eastern. That's just after 1:45 p.m. GMT. US session well underway, and let's have a look how the US dollar is performing. We saw a fight back yesterday. Today, US dollar, and on the index, we did see US dollar strength continuing, resistance at 99.22. But as the US session has got underway, we've seen US dollar index being sold off. Let's zoom in on the hourly. And there you can see after a strong start during the European session, now giving up those gains and looking down at support at 98.80. So there you can see on the daily, pretty much sitting in the middle of today's range, has tried higher, has tried lower, but as the US session gets into its second hour, it looks like US dollar is being sold off, certainly on the index. That's what we see. Let's have a look at the majors. Starting off on the Euro US, and there you can see green candlestick, that's buying euro, selling US dollar. US dollar was strong earlier, got supported 115.42, but euro has fought back and got resistance at 115.95. If I zoom in on the hourly, there you see that since the US session started, which is 2 hours ago, US dollar is being sold off, buying the euro, selling the US dollar. We'll see if that can be maintained during the US session. But certainly at this point, buyers of euro looking up at 115.95, looking up at the 116 level. Let's have a look at the pound. Here, still US dollar strength is what we're seeing, a red candlestick, selling pound, buying US dollar. I've got resistance at 133.54 and support has been set at 132.50. Lower high, lower low. Let's just zoom in on the hourly. And there you see, not to the same extent as the euro, but we are seeing the US being sold off against the pound. Pound strengthening right now, putting in a run against the US, looking to recoup the losses from earlier in the European session. Buyers will be looking up at this resistance, the 133.54. Sellers of pound, buyers of US will be looking back down at the 132.52. But for now, US dollar being sold off and pound is having a run against the US, just like we saw on the euro. Let's have a look at the US yen. Got the daily chart up, and that's red candlestick that's selling US, buying yen, resistance at 152.62 and support at 151.58. A little bit of a fight back now from the US dollar, it looks like. Let's just zoom in and see. Well, there you can see there was the fight back from the US in the European session. But now that the US session is underway, we're looking at US dollar being sold off, weak US dollar, strong yen. That's what we're seeing in the last 2 hours. Sellers of US, buyers of yen will be looking down at the support, 151.58. Buyers looking up at the 152.62. Again, we're seeing US dollar, which started off showing some strength during the European session, being sold off now that the US session is underway. And the US Canadian, again, US dollar strength to start. There you can see support at 140.32, but earlier resistance was set at 140.80. But a big wick being left behind. That's a turnaround from that resistance level. You selling US dollar, buying Canadian, and there's the big turnaround happening right now. You can see that US dollar weakness, sellers of US, buyers of Canadian looking at the support level now, at 140.32 with resistance up at the 140.80. So similar pattern we saw on the index, we're seeing it on all the majors. US dollar did start strong during the Asian into the European session. Now that the US session is underway, we are seeing a turnaround from strong US to weak US. We've got resistance, support levels to work with, and whether this US sell-off does continue or whether there's going to be a bounce up or down off the relevant support and resistance levels. We'll see how that plays out during the US session. Good trading and keep that discipline.